Chapter 14. Tutoring. Something was definitely brewing, and for once, it wasn't just in potions class. Every single member of the Undercroft gang was up to something, myself included, though I wasn't entirely sure what. I'd tried convincing myself I was imagining things, but the evidence was too obvious to ignore, especially when it came to Sebastian. He wasn't distant like he had been after the scriptorium, no, not at all, but as though his attention had shifted onto something or someone else. And only now did I realize how much I had grown used to being his primary focus, not that I would ever admit to missing it. Even Ominous, whose every expression and gesture I could read like a book, seemed preoccupied. And Anne, now fully immersed in the joys of early romance, had taken it upon herself to play matchmaker, particularly when it came to Ominous and me.
"There's no point in being old-fashioned about it,"
Anne said matter-of-factly as we made our way toward the library. The castle was unusually lively for a Saturday afternoon, yet the hum of student chatter only worsened my inability to focus. With exams looming and the Yule Ball announced in the same breath, I was one inconvenient thought away from losing my mind.
"Just ask him,"
Anne pressed, as if the matter were as simple as flicking a wand.
"He'll say yes."
For a flicker of a moment, I recalled her once mentioning that Ominous had spent nearly every summer holiday in Feldcroft. The thought faded as quickly as it had intruded, my mind narrowly escaping the snare of jealousy. We settled at a quiet table in the library, unpacking our study materials with the kind of sluggish effort that made it obvious we weren't really here to study. I frowned at my charms book, quietly accepting the fruitlessness of my attempt to focus on anything other than the Yule Ball. I'm starting to question Professor Weasley's intentions with announcing the Yule Ball before exams, I muttered, smoothing out an invisible crease in my skirt. What was she thinking? As if we didn't already have enough to deal with. Now we have to worry about dancing. Anne laughed, her expression far too knowing for my liking.
"Oh, you're just dying to get on that dance floor, aren't you?"
I shot her a glare, but she merely grinned.
"It's not the dancing that's bothering you,"
she mused.
"You're just nervous about asking your crush to go with you."
I frowned, but to my own horror found I wasn't exactly inclined to disagree. I actually enjoy dancing very much, I admitted, twirling my quill between my fingers. But I bet Ominous doesn't. Anne took a sharp breath.
"Are you kidding me? He loves it.
She stopped short as Madame Scribner swept past, casting us a warning glance over the mountain of books floating behind her. Anne waited precisely 3 seconds before leaning in, lowering her voice conspiratorially.
"He's obsessed with music. His parents think only muggles play instruments because wizards can just enchant them. But he managed to convince them to buy a pianoforte by claiming it would help with his perception skills."
She rolled her eyes.
"In the end, I'm pretty sure it was sheer affordability, not logic, that persuaded them to buy one."
I gaped at her. Ominous can play the piano? Anne nodded. As the daughter of a musician, my heart leapt at the thought. Music was already a rarity in the wizarding world, but for me, it had always been a quiet tether, something that had grounded my childhood in ways magic never could. The thought of Ominous, elegant and composed as ever, sitting at a piano, fingers moving effortlessly across the keys. The image sent a flutter through my stomach.
"And you should have heard him yesterday,"
Anne added breezily, flipping open her charms book.
"Walking Sebastian through all his outfit choices for the ball. He's just as flustered as you."
I snorted, picturing Sebastian fussing over Ominous's wardrobe. That much effort from someone who used a comb twice a month. Remarkable. "You're sure he hasn't asked anyone else?" I asked, my voice smaller than I intended. Anne gave me a look.
"Who else would it be besides you? He's probably trying to figure out how to ask you himself. You could always save him the trouble."
I busied myself with my parchment, pretending to suddenly care about schoolwork. Silence stretched between us. To any bystander, we might have actually looked studious. Then Anne set her quill down.
"Do you mind me practicing Reparo?"
she asked, a mischievous glint in her eye. I barely had time to shove my books out of the way before she gleefully smashed her ink bottle on the table. Thick black liquid oozed through the shards, spreading over the wooden surface like a battlefield.
Reparo,
Anne murmured, watching the mess slowly reverse itself. I sighed. Well done. Anne flashed me a smile, cradling the repaired object as if contemplating to wreck it again. Instead, she turned her attention back to me, eyes narrowing in silent amusement.
Whatever happened to ominous tutoring you in potions?
She asked, dragging out the words like a reprimand. I sank into my shoulders. I stalled, knowing full well the plan had been to avoid the topic entirely. We haven't talked about scheduling it yet. Anne scoffed, unimpressed.
Potions is on Monday and you two are idiots,
she declared, pressing her palms against the table as if mapping out a battle plan. Then, her head tilted, eyes locking onto something or someone beyond my field of vision.
Time to take matters into my own hands.
I was still rummaging for a clever retort when she shot her arm into the air, the force of her wave compensating for her whispered tone.
Sebastian. Ominous. Over here.